So Avowed is out in early access, and I've had a chance to play it for about 8 hours. It's a fantasy RPG by Obsidian Entertainment. Those are the same folks that brought us Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds. Both of these games are beloved by the community, and we all seem to have high hopes and high hype for Avowed. I mean, my hype is pretty high for the game, and I've been jonesing for a few years now for a proper fantasy RPG like this, something similar to Elder Scrolls. So after playing the early access for about 8 hours so far, I've come to a conclusion. I just can't stop myself from making a stealth archer. In all seriousness though, Avowed isn't the next Skyrim, and it was never meant to be. It's meant to be Outer Worlds in a fantasy setting, and I think it does a great job at that. Within the first hour of the game, the classic Obsidian game design will shine through. For example, I was met with a choice to either help or abandon someone who may or may not have been telling the truth. My choice then came back and had a real gameplay effect really soon after. Later on, still within the first hour, I found this locked door in the first town. In true Obsidian fashion, there are multiple ways to get into this locked room. For one, I can use the key if I could find it, or I could lockpick the door, which I did, and then promptly everyone guarding the door started attacking me, and it actually turned into a boss fight, which was pretty neat and pretty difficult. Or, as a last option, I could search around town and find a way to jump onto the roofs from the back and then jump down into this room through a hole in the roof. Situations like these should really illustrate the Obsidian magic that we've all come to know and love in their prior titles. Rather than it being a broad game with little depth, they like to make deep microcosms where there is no clear moral choice, there are complex relationships between characters and the storyline, and most importantly, there's always more than one way to skin every cat. In support of the idea that this game is a fantasy version of The Outer Worlds, there are two systems present which give it a similar feeling to that game. First is the ability to have followers or companions. You'll get a rotating cast of party members throughout the story which have unique abilities and can help you out in the world or in combat. My intuition leads me to believe that some companions are optional and can either be accepted or not based on dialogue options. The second system is the party camp, where you can set up shop for the night, do some upgrading, talk to your companions, cook some food, and more. This is similar to the home base ship in The Outer Worlds, where you'd basically be doing the same thing. So I've mentioned the dialogue options a few times, and in my opinion, there are actually more unique character-based dialogue options in this game than any other previous Obsidian title. Your background and your skill points will unlock certain unique dialogue options, allowing you to intimidate foes if your might is high enough, or get more information out of them than you would have otherwise if your perception is high enough. It makes it really feel like my character is responding, and not that I'm just given 3 generic dialogue options that all lead to the same end goal every time. The game's map is also similar to The Outer Worlds in the sense that it's not a seamless open world, but more a collection of large maps to explore, and you can travel between these large maps. Now, I'm fine with this, but if you were expecting to be able to jump into the game and run right all the way to the end game zone from the very start, you're going to be sorely disappointed. In that regard, it's not quite as sandboxy as Elder Scrolls titles. What I'm loving about Avowed so far, and what makes it feel like home as an Obsidian game, is the RP elements in the RPG genre. That is to say, the role-playing feels like it actually matters in some regard, and there's enough player choice and player agency that I can stay true to the desired RP of my character. For example, if I choose to be a stealth archer, which I haven't been forced yet into any situation where I need to charge headstrong into a battle. I haven't been forced to make some dialogue decision where I come off as some angry brute. I've been able to stay true to this stealthy archetype. Let me address the elephant in this room that you may be seeing and wondering about as you're watching my gameplay footage. The game on my PC looks kinda muddy and low res, but that's because I have an outdated PC. I mean, it's almost 6 years outdated at this point. On modern hardware, I'm sure that the game runs great and looks great, but I really had to crank my graphics down just to get this thing to run smoothly. So keep that in mind if you also have an older PC and were really wanting to play this, but the graphics just seem something that you don't want to deal with. So in summary, Avowed is a strong RPG so far for me, and I think the ratings we've seen released, like a 7 out of 10 from IGN, just don't feel genuine or appropriate for the title. Everyone's appetite for some Elder Scrolls type game seems ravenous, and Bethesda themselves are just taking way too long to release Elder Scrolls 6. I think we'll see Skyrim released for the PlayStation 6 before we see Elder Scrolls 6. So we may be treating Avowed unfairly, expecting it to be some sort of massive, seamless open world, and we've all been stoking the fires of our own hype, waiting for a title like this to come out. So let's temper our expectations a bit. So if you go into Avowed thinking it's going to be the Outer Worlds but with swords and magic, you're going to have a great time. I'd say like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10 time, honestly. So to conclude, Avowed isn't the next Skyrim because it was never meant to be. It's a deep and satisfying RPG experience from Obsidian Entertainment with all of their usual flavor that we've come to know and love. And I think that's a really good thing. If this video earned your subscription, thank you. I extend you my gratitude. Thanks for watching, and take care.